This is Bill Schweigart, and you are watching the Crew Reviews.
Good evening. Tonight on Crew Reviews, we welcome back our friend, Mr. Bill Schweigart, who's an occasional co-host and one of our favorite authors, but who's just a hell of a guy. And his latest release is the wonderful and inventive novel, The Dirty 20. Glad to have you back, Mr. Schweigart.
Good to be back. Thank you guys for having me and for assembling. I appreciate it.
For you, anything, my friend.
Yes, we will
So
assemble.
why don't we start off? Why don't you give our audience a quick rundown of what's in store in this novel?
So, Dirty 20 tells the tale of Tommy Fugue. He is a student who just wants to go to art school. He's just finished up his first year in college. He just has one problem. His father is the Denver crime boss, Alejandro Big Al Fugue. And he wants Tommy to do a little favor for him. He wants him to have a summer job of laundering $20,000 in dirty money as sort of a summer job. And Tommy does not like this. He wants nothing to do with the family business. So he figures he's going to create a fake role-playing game and post it on FunFunder, which is like a Kickstarter sort of website, except that it goes viral. And now all of a sudden he is on the hook to deliver this game, but his father is helpful. He lends his son some of his gangland associates to help him build out the game, and hijinks and blood ensue.
Well, Bill, as I read this novel, I kept thinking, what's the big deal? I had to tassel and bale hay, so why are you bitching, kid? But no, what I really kept thinking the whole time was the word inventive kept popping into my head as I read every chapter. This story truly feels fresh, surprising, and it was a hell of a lot of fun while still having a lot of emotional depth. So what was the seed that bloomed into this ridiculously entertaining read?
So this is a fun story, a tale, and I had a lot of help from my editor, Adam at Disney, Adam Wilson. And years ago, we had sort of a virtual cup of coffee, and my particular vein of nerddom is Marvel Comics, to which I know that Chris, can I get an amen? Can I get a hallelujah?
Amen, brother.
And I had let my agent know, like, hey, anything that comes down with Marvel, like, please put me in front of, even if it's a long shot. And they were getting ready to launch a Marvel crime line, Hyperion Avenue Books. And Barbara, my agent, set up this coffee date with Adam, and we had a great conversation. And ultimately, I didn't get picked for that project, but he kept me in mind. But some folks that you would know who did get those books: Alex Segura for Daredevil, Lisa Jewell for Jessica Jones, and S.A. Cosby for Luke Cage. And I first learned about S.A. Cosby on this podcast, and I'm like, that's elite. And when those names were announced, I was like, well, I can't argue with that. But a couple of years go by, and Barbara's like, hey, Adam wants to talk. So he had the sort of high concept of Sopranos meets Dungeons and Dragons. And he knew that I was a nerd. But what he didn't know, that I was also a nerd for crime stuff. Like, I grew up in South Jersey on the other side of the bridge from Philly. Like, born and raised on mafia stuff. So even more so than the role-playing game aspect, I was really intrigued of the gangster stuff. And this was an opportunity. Like in any other project I've written, I've had editors be like, all right, enough with the jokes, pump the brakes, you're diffusing the tension. But this was actually a project where I could actually lean into some humor, and the darker the better.
Was your first job at Waste Management? Was that your first summer job?
Look, I'm a legitimate businessman, and I don't, I don't appreciate those stereotypes. Okay, I'm just trying to put food on the table, man. Why you gotta get your hand in my pocket?
Dude, I gotta tell you though, there was many laugh out moments with your like the dialogue with some of the stuff that's just coming out. Like I would highlight it, like, dude, that was hilarious.
Well,
Well done.
what's funny is that like we all grew up in a Godfather world. Like there was before the Godfather, there were crime stories, and then the Godfather was like everything. Just everything was a response or a swerve from the Godfather. But then in '99 to 2000, like the Sopranos blew up. So now we're in a post Sopranos world. So, and that was very knowing. That was very self-referential. So I had to like, you know, I had those things have to exist in this book. So it has to be even more referential, even more sort of self-aware.
Well, like you, I'm a Jersey guy, and I grew up in the mafioso area world of Jersey.
Albanese, Chris Albanese.
Yeah, Albanese is the last name. But the other aspect of the book, there's a signature move that like bleeds through the scene, where reality slips into the game's fantasy register during like stressful moments. That's a structural device that could go gimmick fast. What was your rule? Was it like internal or instinctive for when a scene had earned that shift?
Oh, that's a great question. So I came up with the idea to do sort of the fantasy elements for the role playing, because if you play Dungeons and Dragons, if you play any of these role playing games, there's a lot of mechanics, there's a lot of rolling in the dice, and that is not necessarily inherently, you know, cinematic or exciting. Like nobody wants to be doing math on the page. I can't even do math in real life. So that was my cheat to like represent the gameplay. Like, hey, I'm just going to put it in there, and I was pretty proud of myself for that. But then as I was like going along, I was like, ooh, there could be like he is not a gangster. Like Tommy is not a gangster. He is not a criminal. He's not particularly brave. He's not even very confident. And he's still growing up. So when things get really hairy, I was like, you know what? You can kind of use that same device. And he kind of goes into, if you pardon the pun, a bit of a fugue state. And like that was something I kind of discovered in the middle of writing it, which was fun. Like those are the moments of discovery where you're like, oh, I can push this a bit further.
I don't think I'd ever seen it
I
done.
love I love that just being the term game master gave him the license to kind of be confident and be assertive, and I thought that was just brilliant. Really was.
Thank you. No, it was so much fun. And yeah, I had not been a gigantic Dungeons and Dragons player as a kid. Like I didn't know anybody. Like again, my specific laser-like focus was the comics. And I was not a huge joiner, I'll be the first to admit, and I didn't know anybody that played role-playing games, but I was always kind of fascinated, and through podcasts and stuff as an adult, I could listen in and I could learn the rhythms. But I actually had a coworker who I would go and sort of ask questions, and she'd be like, "You're joining my next campaign." So, as an older guy, like playing D&D for the first time was a kick. It was a lot of fun.
You should have come up to North Jersey back in the day, man. You could have joined our games.
See, I didn't know anybody, and now it's
Mainstream.
cool.
Yeah, it's mainstream. Yeah.
It's totally mainstream. Everybody knows somebody or is involved in a role playing game, and everybody's walking around wearing
satanic
Spider-Man
anymore.
underoos.
It's not satanic. 'Cause I remember like people are like, no, it's Satan worshiping. Like what? It's collective storytelling.
Exactly. That's what cracks me up is that if you are playing Dungeons and Dragons, and if you actually, for people that would claim that, if they actually played, it is the most wholesome stuff you could ever imagine. It is like you're sitting around a table, you're eating snacks on a Friday night, you're telling a story together. It's heroic. Like there couldn't be anything more wholesome
Cool.
than that.
I love it.
That old TV movie that was the ABC movie of the week, and it was about the kid getting lost in Dungeons and Dragons, and it was like people were scared of that game.
That I think that was Tom Hanks.
Yes, it was Tom Hanks.
Oh my gosh,
It was Tom Hanks.
that's too. Yeah, you can't play the game. So going back to the book. So the book starts off as a heist, like you said. He's got to launder a dirty 20, which is pretty hilarious. But the back half, it's Tommy's coming of age and the search for what happened to his mother. Was that always the structure, or at some point did it change, like during drafts?
So I had, I had the premise, I had some characters, and from there, I really had free reign to sort of build out the story. And I kind of like the journey of Tommy being this kid who's like walking around in hoka slides and disheveled and just like typical college student to like his arc of gaining a bit of confidence, him using the game to get some agency in his life. And he's got a very overbearing father as a mafia don,
little
obviously. Little bit. And, using the game as a way to develop confidence, like you said, Sean, as a game master. And then figure out, hey, what actually happened to my mom? And is my father involved? And, there has to be reversals. There has to be betrayals. So that was a lot of fun.
Well, I didn't think there was anything weird about the way that guy parented, because that's kind of how I raised my kids. But without giving any spoilers, there are major twists. And a book this layered presents sort of an interesting author contract with the reader. Sometimes you want them to see it coming, sometimes you don't. And we'll let readers decide if you land those twists, but we both think you did. But from the craft standpoint, when working with a twist, what's best? Do you reverse engineer them from the ending, or do you see it as you write?
I mean, with this, that's a good question. There were some things that I discovered in the writing, and there are some things that I set out that I knew going along, like, hey, we're gonna reveal this. But there, within that structure, there were some things that even surprised me, which is fun, which is the plotting versus pantsing discussion that you guys have all the time. You have to give yourself some room to play in the margins. Like, I knew how it was going to end, but getting there, and sometimes the wilder the scenarios, the more fun it was. And I would sort of run them by my wife, and she's like, this book is being published by Disney. You can't do that. And then I would run it by my editor, Adam, and he'd be like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, you're Disney. Are you sure that's going to fly? He's like, that's okay. I was like, really? Oh, all right. So every time I pushed in on some crazy, Adam was like, yes, which was a really great collaboration that I didn't necessarily expect. And Adam is a huge gamer, so he kept me honest on the gaming side of it and the mechanics of it as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you kind of answered my follow up, but I'll kind of rephrase it. It's because, as you said, we talk about that on the show, and Brad Thor's fond of saying, "No surprise in the writer, no surprise in the reader." And I found so many delightful surprises scattered throughout this book. I would just kind of smile and giggle or just like be taken aback by something. But was it the characters that you created that surprised you, like with what they said and they did, or was it just like the way the plot turned that would surprise you?
I mean, I'm kind of a character first guy. Like, I have sometimes can be difficult for me. I know there are some writers who just that's their engine. I have to be a character first kind of guy. So I will sit and I will sketch and I will just sort of zone out and disassociate myself so that I can sort of come up with some plot elements. But yeah, it was always character first for me.
So Big Al loves Star Wars, and he gets some of the funniest lines in the book, even though he's like this menacing person, right? Love bombing, uh, was great when I read that. That's one of the ones where I stopped and I was like, dude, that was a great line. But like I said, he's also this engine, but he's also the engine of its most heinous moment in the story. Like, you You go up, you go down. Like it's a roller coaster on that where there's some really funny parts, and then you have that. So how did you calibrate the swing from comic register to real darkness without giving readers that tonal whiplash?
So that's like he was the trickiest character. Like you nailed it. He was the trickiest character to get because he is a mob boss and he's also a father and you want him like I didn't want him to be like a caricature like with malapropisms like hey that train has sailed that kind of stuff like I didn't want him to be a joke but I had to have him be funny so that he was charming and I wanted him to have charm so that you could see why people would be attracted to him like he needed to have a bit of charm so people could get seduced by him and but there had to be a real palpable sense of menace like you don't know what he's going to do from one moment to the next so I needed for the whole story to work like I needed him to have almost as much as anybody else in the book I needed him to be a three-dimensional character.
So would you say that the comedy bought you permission to go that dark?
The comedy was definitely like if you can make somebody laugh like you get a lot of rope if you can make somebody laugh you can push the behavior and for him like he had to be a bit charming he had to be a bit breezy at times but yeah he is a bad dude and it's just like that's why we loved Tony Soprano we all fooled ourselves into thinking no he was a complicated anti-hero no he was a freaking monster
Maniac. Yeah.
but he was a lovable monster because he was hilarious at times. So it's I think the jokes by you, you were like, all right, I'll give this guy a chance, and then he rips the mask off at times, and you're like, oh, this is a serious dude.
Yeah, he rips the mask off not only with his enemies, but even the people that are closest to him, which is like the scariest point.
When I read him, and he's not in any way like a copy of this character or anything, but I had the same unease I had. I didn't even think of Tony Soprano, but I see it now. But I had more of the same unease I had watching Joe Pesci in Goodfellas, where
Yes.
you just never knew what the hell he was going to do, and you always worried it was going to be really, really bad. And
Yeah, like the sort of unpredictable live wire, like, am I a clown to you?
yeah,
What am I a joke to you? And you're like, this could go wrong 17 different ways. And then he's like, I'm just playing. And you're like, oh.
Creates that great tension. So loyalty in Dirty 20 isn't a virtue. It's an obligation that gets people killed and a tool that gets weaponized. Tommy's arc is partly about recognizing the loyalty his father demands from his hirelings isn't the same as the loyalty he's building at the gaming table. Was that distinction something you were tracking explicitly, or did it surface through the characters?
Well, that's a great question. You're right. The loyalty is a double-edged sword. And Tommy has grown up under the thumb of his domineering father and his sort of mob queen wife who has gone missing. And that's the system that he grew up in. But he, through the game, developed some self-confidence. And through these players, some of whom are more redeemable than others around his gaming table, he kind of finds a sort of, the mafia is central to everything in Tommy's life and his father's life. But then this game almost becomes, a virtuous pursuit for him and gives his life purpose beyond the mob, beyond the morals or lack thereof that his father has sort of foisted on him from this mafia system. They created this little, like he takes the game very seriously, and the other players around the table take it seriously as well. It becomes sort of this sacred space where it's about creativity, it's about teamwork, it's about camaraderie, and it really, I think it startles them how meaningful it becomes in their lives. And some characters, again, become more redeemable than others through the gameplay.
Well, speaking of characters, your secondary characters in crime fiction that usually exist to die memorably or deliver one great line or one great scene. Joe and Nines do a lot more than that. They have an interiority that exceeds their plot function. So, what's your discipline for deciding when a supporting character has sort of earned that kind of real estate versus when you're just sort of indulging a character to build it up? Because
That's a good. I don't even know that it's discipline as much as the characters themselves sort of announce or demand a bit more screen time or sort of elbow characters out of the way. And Nine for me was one of those characters. And Nine Ball is, the up and coming soldier that also reveres Tommy's father, um, but is Tommy's sort of bodyguard and best friend. And the book kind of becomes like this battle for his soul, where Tommy's saying, "Hey, there could be a better way. You're better than this," and of course, loyalty to the Don. So Nine could have been a cardboard cutout, but like he really, to me, became sort of the soul of the book, and that is just. I can't even almost take credit for that. That is like the character like knocking on the door and saying, "No, you need to feature me more," or "I had this idea." Like occasionally that organic thing happens and it's great, and when you get it, you got to latch onto it.
Yeah, so Joe and Nines, they kept threatening to walk away with scenes that they were only supposed to be passing through. Like I could see that as a writer. Like I could see that it wanted to happen. So did either of them grow on the page beyond what you'd planned?
Yeah, I think definitely they had some hero moments. Definitely Nine became more prominent than I think he was ever supposed to. Same with Joe, but in a different way. And then by the time you get to the end, there's some real poignant stuff with them, I
Yeah, you
think.
see a real arc with those characters, and I wondered, as I turned the last page, I wondered where the story would go. You always want, as a writer, you always want the reader to write like the page after. And so I was thinking in my head, where would it go? And I was like, it would be cool to know more about Nine or even Joe. Like, what was Joe's, like, her past, like leading up to where she is? Because like both of those characters had really good arcs. So, I mean, does Disney think they'll greenlight something?
I mean, as you know, with I think it all depends on the first week sales. Would I love for there to be a Dirty 21 or Dirty 20.2? I don't know what we'd call it, but absolutely. I would love to tell the further adventures of Tommy and this crew and what his, second year in college looks like.
No,
Because his first year is pretty eventful.
I think you go with Nat one,
Yeah,
all in
exactly.
your face, like everything's bad.
That's pretty good. Yeah, no, I definitely would. I think there's definitely more in the tank for these characters, and it would be fun to see their growth and see how Big Al contends with a more confident, more independent Tommy, and what that would bring out in the Don. That'd be pretty fun.
it'd be a blast, actually. Well, since you mentioned Big Al, let's talk about him some more. So he's a brutal father, but in his own way, he's a man who genuinely wants family bonding time. It's just a really weird family sort of bonding. But the contradiction is this engine of his menace. How did you keep him from collapsing into either a pure monster or sort of a mob dad cliche?
It's it's got to go from scene to scene, and he does show some vulnerability, and you do get the sense that he does love his son and that he is under tremendous pressure himself. And you know, I think a lot of these mafia guys, they sort of pretend that it's all about family and that they're doing it for their families, but where it could be they're just it could just be greed or the need for power. There those lines get blurred, but Big Al definitely loves his son and is concerned for his son and wants his son, like any parent, if your son or your daughter wants to have a career in the arts, you're going to be a little nervous. And he tells his son, like, you need a backup plan. And, his Tommy's like, you want my backup plan to be organized crime? And he's like, yeah, work for me. So yeah, it's tricky. It's just it's love, but it's deeply warped.
So I play in a weekly and have for years roll 20 Dungeons and Dragons game, and then sometimes I get together with friends, the local friends, and I play regular D&D or one shots. So when I was reading your story, the table dynamics between the players felt real. That's a craft achievement because most fictional D&D reads like someone describing D&D to play to people who's never played. And that's not just annoying; it could pull readers out of the story, which you did not do. You didn't pull me out of the story. You actually sucked me in. It was pretty cool.
Oh, thank goodness.
So, how much of your own gaming life, and you alluded to it a little bit, is in those scenes, and what did you have to invent versus transcribe?
So I was a lurker. So I learned through podcasts because, again, not a joiner, not, I didn't know anybody growing up, but going back to like 2010, I would listen to D&D podcasts. And if you do, even if they're well edited, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of like waiting for the dice to be rolled. There's a lot of crosstalk. There's a lot of chatter. So again, my cheat for that were to have these sort of fantasy scenes where you're actually in the fantasy world and you have this sort of godlike narrator of Tommy directing the players and the players talking back and wisecracking and stuff. So that was sort of my cheat to do that. But it was through listening to a ton of podcasts and then finally joining a campaign of my own, which was super fun. But I'll tell you, like, in a guy in his 50s just starting to play Dungeons and Dragons, like, I was nervous. I had
the learning curve.
Yeah, because I don't math. If I mathed, I wouldn't be a writer. And also, like, there is an element of, besides like the intimidating, and it's not that intimidating. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
It's not intimidating. If you've got a good dungeon master or a good game master, like, they're taking care of all that stuff for you. But there's a bit of improv. Like, you're playing a character and it takes a little bit to sort of come out of your shell. And it was really interesting. And my daughter just started doing theater this past year, her senior year in high school. And I was kind of seeing the parallels, like, oh, you really kind of just have to throw yourself into it and have fun. And the fun organic part that you can't control is that my character is a rogue. And I'm like, he's very full of himself. Go figure.
Backstabbing people. Oh,
yeah. But on my very first like roll or move in the game, I rolled a 1.
Yeah, you did. So you tripped over yourself. You
I
stabbed
tripped
your
over
buddy.
myself. Exactly. So immediately, like, the tone was set for my character to just be like a complete, like, totally full of himself, can't execute, and just, but pompous as all get out. And then that got folded into the character as we went along. So it was like, my character sort of became like, you're welcome, and just never executing properly. And then when he does do something, everybody's like,
Surprised.
that is very unlike you. But that's like the collaborative, fun storytelling. So it's very weird to be like, in my 50s, to be like, have you heard of this Dungeons and Dragons stuff? It's pretty cool. You should check it out. But I'm evangelizing because it is so fun. It is so wholesome. We love telling stories, but then there's also the improvisation of it as well. It just makes me so giddy.
Well, Bill, if you're still playing, just wait till one of your characters dies after you've put in like a bunch of time.
Yeah, that's so I'm picking up from my friends now. Everybody proudly is like, oh, I've got a game. Oh, I've got a Saturday game. Oh, I do this. So I'm getting all these stories from folks of stuff like that. Oh, my character died, or like when something surprising happens like that and a character gets taken out that you have built and cultivated and played for years. It's like a really somber
You know what's
The
hilarious?
fear.
You know what's hilarious? So I play every Wednesday, from 8 to like 11 midnight sometimes.
In person or like
No,
Zoom?
so we'll do it on Roll 20. That's my weekly game. So that's like a Zoom type thing. It's a program. And so it's all friends I grew up with from like grammar school and high school. We're all like 50 years old or old. It's hilarious. And we play every Wednesday religiously. And my wife knows that, oh no, daddy has, when we're talking about the kids, well, daddy has, it's Wednesday night, so daddy's not going to be available from like 8 to 11. And nothing gets planned around that time. Like, that's my time to play Dungeons and Dragons.
And it's not like you're out hitting the bars or at, the pool hall or getting hammered. You're like, again, it is like
Being a
the
nerd.
most wholesome stuff ever. And what really astounded me was the tech involved, the roll 20 of it all, the, the D&D Beyond,
Oh yeah.
um, you know, the gaming table that my friend has,
Oh,
like
he's got
cost
legit
more
stuff.
than my dining room table. The
Insane
tech,
stuff. It's crazy.
it's insane. It's bananas. And you can design your own character and then you can have it 3D printed. And one night I was sitting across, the living room from my wife who has a job where she deals with international stuff. So she's working all different hours and it's like 9 p.m. and she's emailing with the Philippines and Indonesia, and I'm on my laptop, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing," and I'm trying to pick out the best color cloak for my character. And she's
Very
like,
important. Very important.
"Oh boy,"
Very
I'm
important.
like, "This is research, honey.
I
This
love
this counts as work." It's like, okay,
I must admit, I feel sort of left out because on Wednesdays I go to the pool hall and drink. Um,
it. Because you're a loser, Sean. You're the loser.
I don't do that. I don't have time for that. But I've historically not been much of a gamer of this type. However, watching Stranger Things which is a family affair here, and reading this book actually has me really intrigued. And so, who knows what's going to happen? But I'm wondering, are there any plans to release Caregivers out to the world? Because I play the hell out of that.
I would love that. Again, write Disney, write your congressman. You know, rent one of those planes at the Jersey Shore that just tows,
Yeah.
the 1,000 blades of Turgivers. Yeah, I think it's fun. I think the infrastructure that we built is pretty sturdy, and you could put a lot of stories on it. And I think it's fun, and I like the idea of the game was a nice echo to what Tommy was going through, and that they're trying to find, instead of, hey, we're going to slay this dragon or we're going to go to this village, their whole goal is to find sort of missing virtues in themselves.
And then ultimately the queen.
Fantastic.
Um, did you look up to see how much funfunder.com would cost you, the domain?
Ooh, I should have. I should have done that. That the Fun Funder, yes, um, was definitely my Kickstarter
I loved it.
facsimile.
I
But
loved it.
somebody, but apparently, like, that's not a brand new concept. People have used Kickstarter
Oh
to
yeah.
launder some stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and I even learned that Spotify, through the research, like I think over maybe in Sweden. I don't want to disparage the Swedes or anything, but I think it was somebody in Sweden was pumping money through Spotify, which was getting that artist more plays, which was getting the artist more actual dates in person at venues, and they were able to take a cut out of that. So yeah, any tech innovation, look for the grift. There's always people getting paid on the margins.
100%.
I have a friend that
So
I'm sorry, Chris. I have a friend that crowdfunded his comic book, and he released a comic book that he crowdfunded.
Who?
There's a guy named Steve Deshawn. He's a teacher I went to high school with him. He's a teacher at another high school here in town, football coach.
that's so cool.
Send me that information, because that's sort of a plot point. And again, the comic book thing, that's where my passion lies.
So Bill, what's next up for you? What do you got coming down the pipeline?
Um, I am on sub with another book that I just sent to my agent a couple of weeks ago. It is about a Coast Guard officer, a retired Coast Guard officer who takes his family on a cruise as a way to say thank you for always supporting him during his career. And it's one of those fan cruises, and it's his daughter's favorite show. Think of a Stranger Things sort of show. They're doing this fan cruise experience, and the cruise ship gets hijacked. So it features my main character having to fight his way through the decks of this cruise ship.
Is his name William?
His name is not William,
Okay.
and the working title was Float Hard. And Barbara was like, "What else you got?" So the book is the book is on sub right now. So write your congressman, everybody. So it is more, it's straight ahead action. It is.
I'm just stuck on it. I'm pulling that out. It's promo.
So I can write a good book. I can't pick a good title.
No, I think that's a grand title.
Oh my god.
So but it's exactly what it says on the tin. Float hard. So
Well,
yeah.
Since we only use that title, we can always collaborate on a screenplay that's essentially Speed 2, like, mock up, like comic.
Absolutely. So, but in line with Dirty 20, it is, it doesn't shy away from the humor. It explores all the action and adventure with a heaping helping of yucks.
It wouldn't be a Bill Schweigart story if it wasn't humor involved.
Exactly. Well, Bill, we're gonna toast your survival of the main portion of the interview. Seriously, before we get into the hijinks, fantastic book, very, very inventive, very fresh. Really like nothing I've read as far as just the combination of qualities and story elements that I would have never put together, and you put them together in a way that's just beautiful. So congrats.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to read it and taking the time to convene.
Well, we're thrilled to do it. All right, so you know the deal. Lightning round, 3 random questions. Could be really. Mine are all math related. No, just
Actually, there is math aspect to the first part of your question, but go on.
Oh boy.
that's true. So, when you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. That was a quote that I loved that was in your book. But my question is this: which has been more successful, your arguments with reality, or your arguments with your wife and or daughter?
Oh, that's not right, dude.
Ooh, that is a good question. You can bend reality. I can't bend my wife or my daughter. It's a losing proposition. And I don't believe in reality. So,
That's fair enough. As somebody who has 2 daughters and a wife myself,
yeah, it's like the law of gravity. You're not going to win.
You just try not to break your bones when you fall.
So if you were to get mobbed up in the future, how happy are you that I have provided you your mob nickname, and do you want to share that with the audience?
I first of all, I don't appreciate the fact that you don't think I couldn't already be mobbed up.
What's your last name?
Hey, look,
Schweigart.
Watching this, there could be feds watching this. I'm trying to protect you.
The Irish mafia. Yeah. Yeah, everybody always asks, "Hey Bill, do you play Dungeons and Dragons?" Nobody asks, "Hey Bill, are you in the mafia?"
No.
I don't appreciate the stereotype.
Never comes up.
What's your mob nickname? I've already given it to you.
You have to, what is my mob nickname?
Yeah, what is it?
Billy Schweigs.
Billy Schwags. There you go.
There's no like Billy the Hammer Schweigs or Billy the Key Schweigs or whatever, but it's Billy Schweigs.
I know I need to find an implement in the middle.
What would it be?
Billy the Shoehorn Schwags or something like that.
That'd be a great backstory. Okay, my last question, also mob related. So, in The Godfather, he famously made an offer he couldn't refuse. Without threatening your loved ones, what's the offer that Billy Schweigs can't refuse?
Um, oof. Most people make offers I can't understand. Um, but an offer that I couldn't refuse, just a nap. You know,
Dude, that's
that's
so funny you said that because I was be like $1 million for just sleeping.
yeah,
That's what popped in my head.
Billy
just
the
give me a
Nap Schweigs. Billy the
just
Nap
give me a
Schweigs.
just
Just
give me a
nap.
break.
He just wants to nap. Poor guy.
And people be like,
Friday night was my daughter's prom. Saturday night she had a party for the theater kids. Like I'm on fumes, guys.
You're done.
people say Billy the Nap Schweigs, and somebody says, "You like dirt nap?" No, 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 like real
Oh,
nap. He just wants a nap.
he just this guy just needs to take a nap. All right, so it's my turn. My questions are not math related,
Thank God.
but they are dumb. So, how difficult was it for you to use the word irregardless in dialogue?
Ooh, did I use it?
You did.
Big
I
Al.
hope.
Good. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Absolutely because I want to continue blurring the lines of whether or not that's a real word.
I was like, wait a minute, and then I was like, should I look it up and get a definitive answer? And then I went to Wikipedia and I got lost. I was like, cats or something.
Irregardless, it's still a good word.
I loved it. I loved it. I pulled it out. That and love bombing. I think he found it under his car. Someone put that under his car. That was a great line. So Hyperion calls and they say, hey, remember when you put your name in for writing a comic? We got an opening. And here's the thing. You get to pick. Is it She-Hulk? Is it um, Moon Knight? Or is it Lady Thor?
Ooh, these are good questions. These are good questions. This is the kind of stuff that I like. I would give you a wise ass answer, but I am actually so delighted by this question and want to nerd out so hard.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
would be Moon Knight for sure. Because I dig the street level, like within my Marvel fandom. If you focus that laser,
Yeah.
it's that street level hero of like,
Like the
you know,
Defenders, right?
yeah, Daredevil,
Yeah.
Iron Fist, that sort of stuff. I love the crime, the street level stuff.
Have you watched the latest Daredevil season?
I am um several episodes behind. I've seen the first two.
Yeah, I haven't started it. I haven't started it.
It's I mean, I love it. Like I think it's good action. The
Yeah.
acting is great. It's like
They waited too long to put it out though, because I remember I watched the first season, I don't know, a decade ago, or whatever it was.
I think it was like last March. So it's been a full year.
No,
And
I meant like the first one.
oh, the first three that they
Yeah, yeah.
did? Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, they took so long. Oh, so more about me, real quick, before we get to your last question. I started doing again the Marvel Universe timeline movies. I could have a lot of time, so I've been watching all of those
In chronological order or
chronological order. Chronological order,
not in order
cinematic,
of release.
not cinematic. Yeah, not cinematic release order, but chronological. And they even throw in, if you have Disney Plus, they even throw in Ed Norton Hulk from 2008.
So the first one would then be Captain America,
Captain America, and then
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Yeah.
Let's see. What's up? Are you impressed yet, Sean?
Yes.
Where does it end?
Where does it end?
Yeah. What's
I gotta admit, I'm a little behind on some of the movies. It's hard to keep up.
they diluted them a little bit, but anyway, I'm super excited about what they got coming up, and
Oh, I can't. Every day I'm on YouTube. I'm like, refresh, Avengers Doomsday,
where is it?
refresh.
Where is it? Where is it? And I've been hoodwinked with AI or people.
Oh, there's so many junk trailers. I'm like, God, every time I think, I'm like,
I've
oh,
watched
let's
every
see.
single one though, and I was like, yeah. I'm like, no, it's not real.
I don't want to see them because I'm afraid some of them might have a kernel of truth in there and that it's ruined for me. So
I'm okay with
I
being
avoid
okay.
trailers as much as I can.
you're a better man. You're a better man than
I
I am.
don't always succeed, but like my kids are like, "Oh, have you seen the trailer?" But I said no. Every time I see it, I stop because trailers are way too telling of what's going on.
They give too much away.
The whole damn story. So you mentioned Kickstarter before. Have you ever given money for Kickstarter or like a Hasbro Elect, whatever you call it? Have you ever done one of those?
I gave a Kickstarter once, and it was for the Veronica Mars movie. So I don't know if you remember Veronica Mars, great noir detective show with Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
Ran from 2004, I want to say, to 2007, something like that. 3 seasons, great show. Like the PI, like she, like that writer, I think his name was Rob Thomas, like nailed a great modern noir character. And then they posted, like, years had gone by, maybe, I don't think quite 10 years, but then he went to Kickstarter and got the whole cast. And it was the first time that anybody had raised money for a movie on Kickstarter.
This is crazy.
And they just wanted to raise like 2 million or 6 million to show, maybe it was Warner Brothers, that they could do it, and then Warner Brothers could match it. And they ended up raising like 6 million or 10 million or something like that. But I so loved that property and that show that I watched, that I contributed to the movie. And then I got like a free copy of the script, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, still
have it. It's PDF.
Oh, okay.
So, but it was kind of cool. And now crowdfunding is everywhere. And and there's been a few like friends in the comics industry that I've backed their stuff. But that was the first big one.
So if we do a crew reviews magazine of short stories, we expect you, and we're gonna crowdsource it.
I think you need to,
like number one.
I think you need to expand your horizons. I think it's crew reviews the movie.
Oh, who's the lead? Who's the lead?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna let you guys fight that out for yourselves, but it's crew reviews the movie, the musical, the show.
Can't sing,
Chris,
Sean.
Chris,
Sean, you're gonna have to lead
Chris, we have a symbiotic relationship. There is no lead.
it. But if it's a musical, it's Sean.
It's clearly
It's Sean. I'll just be on the poster.
Well, I think Vince Vaughn will play me. We know Ben Stiller will play you.
That's right. It's true.
We'll have to figure out.
He's my cousin.
Yeah.
That's it.
No.
Ben Stiller's my cousin.
Really?
He's lying.
Oh.
Those
I've reached the gullible part of the drink.
And we will raise a glass to you, sir.
Here was reality. Now we're down to the gullible. Like, oh,
everything I say is a truthful lie.
Tell me about this bridge for sale.
But audience, aside from all this mayhem, go out and buy this book. It's fantastic. It'll be like nothing else you're reading. You'll want more. You'll call Disney. You'll pick it if they don't put out Dirty 21, Dirty 22, Dirty 35. Also, while you're at it, wrong side. Go back and buy this.
Oh, guilty one, yeah.
This is a hell of a book. This I'm still bitter about.
Still bitter, very bitter.
Guilty too.
Thank you.
Guilty too, very bitter.
Right now,
hey, yeah, Thug Life. Thug Life. That's so funny that that's on the back of the book. Did you fight for that? Were they like, no, we're not putting that on there?
I'm telling you, my editor Adam is like, this is his, like he loves this project because this is like his essence distilled as much as mine. Like
I love
all that, like even the inside with the rolling dice for the chapter, like that's him. Like he's a wonderful collaborator.
This should be a bestseller. Yep. Should be a bestseller.
Cheers to Adam and cheers to you. Bill.
Yeah.
Cheers. Hey guys, when are we gonna start recording? Because this has been great.
Bro.
Your lens cap's on, Chris.
So Bill, can you start with the intro?
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers. Christopher,
Yes, Sean.
another fantastic show, another fantastic guy. Great book, by the way.
Fantastic book. Laughed my ass off reading it.
I did too. I don't think he's capable of writing something without great humor. It was this book. You know, definitely is a Schweigart tone book, but it's again, I love books that surprise me. I love the unexpected, and that's what I got from this one.
Cheers to that, brother. I got a drop left. Drank a lot during the show.
I don't. Nope.
Cheers.
Cheers.